Do you feel your heart longing for something? That's because you're meant to pursue a particular hobby. To find out what that is, let's use this psychic tarot reading from the universe. My name is Emmarie. All you need to do is pick one of these three piles, and to help you do that, there is a little cute image. Whichever one strikes your fancy, that is your intuition telling you you have a message there. So let's look at each of these images up close. Pile 1 is a dragonfly. Pile 2 is a bison. Pile 3 is a horse. If you need to, you can pause the video and meditate on each of the piles, but once you have your pile in mind, you can go ahead and scroll to that part of the video or check in the description and comments of this video to click the link to go to that section. So let's go ahead and get started. Hello pile 1, my dragonfly pile. Welcome to your reading. Let's figure out what hobby your soul is longing for. We're going to get started by pulling 3 cards from the Muse Tarot. Universe, what is their hobby? What is their soul longing for? Your first card is the 4 of Inspiration. This is a card of parties, of socializing, of having a lot of fun. Your soul is longing to spend more time with other people, so you need to be spending less time away from others. The second card is the 6 of Emotions reversed. This is about rejecting nostalgia, so these people aren't necessarily anyone that you know already. It is about meeting someone new. There's something in your soul that's longing for novelty, longing for excitement, longing for getting to know somebody. The third card is the 5 of Voices. This is a card of victory. So I do think that you are likely to really benefit from something competitive where you're not necessarily befriending these people, but you are socializing with them. This makes me think of sports clubs, trivia nights, anything where it's a game where there are winners and losers and you compete with other people. And it can be physical, it can be mental, it could even be creative. For example, this doesn't have to be something you do each week. It could be something you do now and again. It could be something like chess, but it's a really interesting and very social card that you are channeling into something that has some sort of skill that you get better at. So let's see a little bit more about this hobby. Let's pull some cards from the Sacred Self-Care Oracle. I'm going to pull 2 cards here for any additional details. What are some more details about this hobby? I'm really getting the impression, by the way, and this is an example to illustrate my point, of something like competitive jigsaw puzzling. And the point of the socialization here is that you meet new people. You don't necessarily become friends with all of them, but I do think you'll have some peer relationships and maybe 1 or 2 people will become long-term friends. It's something you go and do, you compete, you have fun, and the competitive environment, while there is winners and losers, it's not a dangerous environment. It is all in good fun, all in good humor. The next card is Look for Fairies. This is an indication that there is something magical, lighthearted, and really enchanted about whatever hobby this is. So it's not something that doesn't lack a childlike quality. It is something that isn't that serious, or if it is serious, you're still able to have a good relationship with the people you're competing against. It is not something where you go and make enemies, and it's just a lot of affirmation of the joyful spirit inside of you. The next card is Sync with the Moon. So this tells us frequency. Every month there are about 4 moon cycles, sometimes 5, and this is an indication that it is likely a weekly hobby. Maybe you don't do it with the same intensity each week, but it is something that you dip into now and again. And as an example, let's say you are a competitive jigsaw puzzler. You're not always in that full moon energy where you are doing a competitive jigsaw, or if you're doing chess competitions, you're not doing that each week. Some weeks you're just practicing, some weeks you're playing against a friend, but there are ebbs and flows when it comes to this particular hobby. Some weeks are more intensive than others, and you need to practice at least once a week. Maybe more if that fits your lifestyle, but at least once a week. It is not so infrequent that you don't spend a good portion of your life doing it. So this is something that is a recurring hobby that you need to put a lot of passion into. Let's pull 2 more cards specifically for any qualities that this hobby might have to see if we can narrow it down a little bit more. Let's narrow down this hobby just a little bit more, universe. The first card here is the 5 of Inspiration. This pairs with the 5 of Voices card, and it is play fighting. It could even indicate having a team sport or doing it with other people. This makes me think of trivia nights, or if you are competing by yourself, when you do compete, when you do have those competitions or those play competitions, you're still going to be practicing with someone during the other weeks of the year where you are not in full competitive spirit. So let's again say someone is doing jigsaw puzzling and they go to a competition once or twice a year with a speed jigsaw, but then the rest of the year they are playing with their friends. They're not just doing a jigsaw puzzle to relax. They are perhaps competing with a friend to complete a portion of a puzzle or a whole puzzle in a certain amount of time. So you can see why it is very important for you to really have that competitive energy. And you might also benefit by competing against groups of people, even though I think there is some independent element when you do compete where you are glorified if you win. I think you need to also practice with other people. So again, speed jigsaw, it's an independent competition normally, but maybe during the weeks where you're just practicing, you work with a friend against another friend and you just have fun with it. The next card is the Queen of Voices reversed. So this is a strong sign to me. It has nothing to do with writing or communication. It is something that is emotionally reassuring for you. There's a little bit of empathy there, but it's not something where you are doing a lot of speaking, a lot of writing. Even if you love writing, even if you love communication, whatever this hobby is, it is something that you feel rather than persuade or compete using words. So it's not saying you can't have a writing or speaking hobby in general, but the hobby that you need right now, it seems to be some sort of competitive hobby where you meet people that aren't normally your friends, you're meeting strangers, you're bonding over this shared interest, and there's a competitive element and perhaps a team element in some cases. And it's just a lot of fun, a lot of childlike wonder. There are a lot of things to look for, but consider those traits when you are narrowing down your list, because that is the hobby that you need. Now, let's figure out specifically why your heart, your soul is longing for this hobby. We are going to pull 3 cards from the Work Your Light Oracle to figure out what it is your soul is hoping to do with this hobby. Universe, what is pile 1 hoping to do with their hobby? Why does their soul need it? The first card is don't dim to fit in. How are you dimming your light in order to fit in? So part of this hobby and its competitive nature is pushing you to really challenge yourself, really put yourself in difficult situations, really trust yourself to be quite skilled in presenting your skills either on a stage or in front of a crowd or in a competition, because you are capable of so much. And so while this hobby, it is fun and games, you do enjoy it, at the same time, one of the things it's serving you to do is to bring you out of your shell, to push you to be your best, to make you realize that you are capable of great things, and it's going to transfer as a skill in other areas of your life. The next card is answer the call. What is your soul calling you to do? So this hobby, even before this reading, it may have been something that you saw videos or pictures of, maybe a TikTok, and you thought that looks really, really cool. And you thought, but I can't do it, it's not worthwhile. One thing that I'm really thinking of right now actually is an Olympic sport. A lot of people don't know this, but some sports, especially depending on your country, they don't have traditional pathways to pursue that sport. And so because there's not traditional pathways, the people that do pursue it tend to be older. And so even if there is a hobby that you felt you didn't pursue young enough in your life, actually you can start it now. I recently saw this video series where, because the United States is going to host the Summer Olympics in 2028, and any Olympic host country is supposed to have every team, even if they normally don't send someone for every sport in the Olympics. And so they're just inviting random people to try out for sports that nobody has ever played before in that country or hasn't played often, to fill the team. And so understand that whatever hobby your heart is calling you towards, even if you don't think you have enough experience, even if you think it's rare or unusual, you can get started. Trust yourself and let your heart be moved by your desires. That is why you need it. You need to be moved by your desires, by your curiosity, by your faith that you can try something new. The next card is align your life. What is not aligned or needs to change? So one thing this hobby is meant to do for you is to revise your life. There's something about your life that no longer fits you. Going back to the puzzling example, someone who gets into puzzling is spending less time in front of screens. They're not watching as much television, they're not using TikTok, they're not on YouTube all the time. And puzzling forces them to get away from that screen and do something that is more mindful. And so what this hobby is doing, it is actually helping to get rid of a harmful habit or activity you're doing in your life, healing you from that and letting you have a better experience. So if there's something you're struggling with, this hobby is going to help you get better. For example, if someone is called to do a sport from this, doing a sport often requires you to work out, to fix your nutrition, and that would obviously push someone with bad eating habits or who is sedentary to fix that lifestyle. So this hobby is just going to improve your life in a fundamental way that you don't even realize yet. Let's pull some more cards. Let's pull 2 cards from the Wisdom of the Oracle for anything else you need to know about why you need this hobby. Universe, why does our dragonfly pile need this hobby? Why is it so important? The first card is orphaned. So I think one of the reasons why you are being called to meet new people is that you may be at a point in your life where relationships are fading away, or you don't have friendships and social connections, and your soul is telling you now is the time to make them. And so even though a lot of the people that you meet through this hobby, they're not going to be your BFFs, you're not going to befriend everyone, you are going to befriend someone, you're going to have someone really close to you, and then you're going to have this extended social circle that you can talk to in a group message when you meet them for whatever event that you share. You can catch up with each other. It is just opening up a whole community to you that you didn't have before, and it's just going to heal your soul. It's going to make you feel more whole than you ever were before. The next card is time to go. So this hobby really gets you out of your shell. It gets you out of your house probably. I suppose it's possible you could do something competitive from home, but the whole point of this hobby is that it gets you outside of your current context and puts you into a new place, physically, mentally, emotionally, but it's going to feel like your life finally has progress, that your life finally has direction. You are moving towards a door or a portal that you didn't even realize existed, and you do that by pursuing this hobby. So now what I want to do specifically is figure out what are the long-term benefits of this hobby that you need to be aware of, or if there are any red flags you need to know about. So let's pull 3 cards. Because, for example, if someone pursued a sport, they might need to know that they could get injured sometimes and they need to have a good recuperation routine. But let's see what it can do for you, or what it's going to do to you. The first card is Awakening. It is going to help you see possibilities. Depending on the hobby, it could have some spiritual elements, but specifically, you are going to see possibilities. You're going to have an entirely new perspective on life. We have the Knight of Voices. This is about you being able to move, for you to be able to speak. You're going to have something to talk about. I think that there is, even though the hobby itself is not about communication or writing or speech or anything like that, the hobby is going to give you something to talk about with your community. For example, someone who is into puzzles will figure out what particular brands are best, and they'll talk about that with their new friends. They'll talk about how to do specific techniques to finish a puzzle quicker or better, and that's going to be really interesting for you because you're going to have this new expertise and mastery that you're going to be able to talk about and experience with other people that you didn't have before. You're going to feel less isolated. The third card is the 3 of Materials. This is mind, body, and spirit, like a mind, body, spirit connection. It's also doing something with other people. And overall, specifically, what this makes me think of is you're going to eventually develop 3 hobbies. You're going to have a physical hobby, a mental hobby, and a social hobby. And this hobby is social. It may be physical if that's something you want to do, or intellectual if that's something you want to do. Sometimes people do creative for one of those three hobbies. But the point is that this hobby is going to help you to be a more rounded person, and you're probably going to start adopting other hobbies. For example, a lot of people who are interested in puzzles love to read. They like to listen to audiobooks because they can do that while they're puzzling. Maybe they go for walks. You're going to find that you're going to adopt other hobbies that you're also going to be able to talk to with your hobby community, because you're going to have a shared language, you're going to have shared interests. You're probably going to discover things that you didn't even realize you liked because you pursued this particular hobby. Now let's pull 2 more cards from the Sacred Self-Care Oracle for anything else we need to know about what this hobby can do for you. What can this hobby do for you? What is important for pile 1 to know? The first card is drink tea. Drinking tea is a very meditative practice. It's about slowing down. It's about being mindful. And I think, because this also makes me think of break times, even if the hobby itself is something that is quite action-oriented or very intense because it has that competitive nature, the social element that is introduced because of this hobby, you're going to really break bread with other people. You're going to sit down and relax with them. You're going to feel safe, secure, and listened to. It is just going to be a really reassuring hobby for you. The last card today is Nourish Your Temple. This is definitely a hobby that improves your health. Now, it's going to depend on the particular hobby you adopt. It could be intellectually competitive or physically competitive. Some of you may pick a creative competition, but I do think overall what this is going to do for you is going to improve your health. You're going to have some sort of improved biometrics, or if you're aging and every year is a little bit worse than the others, the decline is going to be lower and you're just going to feel better, or like you're maintaining your health in a way that you weren't before. And I really like seeing that because it means you're going to be around with us even longer, and we definitely deserve you in this world. So pile 1, my Dragonfly pile, I hope this reading resonated with you. Let me know in the comments if you have an idea of what hobby you were meant to do, what sort of thing you want to compete in. If not, you can definitely spend some time journaling on the things we talked about in this reading. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos in the future. I also have private tarot readings available. The link is in the description. But otherwise, pile 1, my Dragonfly pile, I am so glad that you were here today, and I wish you many blessings. Hello, pile 2, my Bison pile. Welcome to your reading. Let's see what hobby your soul is longing for. We're going to get started by pulling 3 cards from the Muse Tarot to see what it is that your soul wants to do. Universe, what does pile 2 need to be doing right now? What is their hobby? Your first card is the Empress. This is about nurturing something, creativity. It could be children, it could be doing something creative itself, but you are definitely meant to manifest something into the world. It could also be growing something or dealing with pets or plants, anything like that. The second card is the Two of Inspiration. This gives me one-on-one energy. This gives me planning energy. This gives me something methodical. It is definitely something that you spend a lot of time thinking about, something you meditate on, something that you work on privately before you present it to the public or to another person. The third card is the Eight of Voices. It is a very constrained hobby. It has a lot of rules or has a lot of stipulations. It has a lot of restrictions, but in those restrictions are freedom. There's creativity. A lot of people who write haikus, for example, and I do think something like haikus would be indicated here, even though you only have, I believe, seven syllables in the first line, 5 in the second, and 7 in the third. That limitation forces you to be creative with your word choices and requires you to be really inventive. And so even though there are some limitations in what you're doing, those limitations give you direction. For example, writers often pick a specific genre, and then within that genre they have tropes or cliches or stereotypes that they pursue. And even though that may not look that interesting on the outside to people that don't like that genre of writing, for the readers, they love it. It is basically their old favorites showing up again and again within the story. And a lot of other things in the story are new, original, and unexpected, but every story in that genre would have a few of those set of tropes, and it is just really exciting. So when it comes to your creativity, I don't think actually this is children. I think this is, or even plants, I do think it is something traditionally creative, something that you are planning ahead of time. So it's not something that is impulsive. It is something that you spend quite a lot of time on, or if it is something that doesn't take a lot of time to do, for example, haikus, you stay true to that form, to that particular type, and you keep producing that particular type of creativity again and again and again. But you're definitely creative. You definitely need to be doing something creative. That is what your soul is longing for. So let's pull 2 more cards from the Sacred Self-Care Oracle for anything else we need to know about this hobby. What do we need to know about your hobby? What are some more traits? The first card is deep breathing. So there is definitely a meditative element to your creative hobby. It is something that has a little bit of divine inspiration or a lot of divine inspiration, and you need to be really in your body, really aware of that mind, body, and spirit before you do whatever that creative hobby is. So there is a lot of what I suppose scientists would call boredom. And in that boredom, you get ideas, you get inspiration, and you move on. One thing that I have been finding that's been really helpful lately is throughout the day, I will spend 5-10 minutes. I'll put in some earplugs, I'll put an eye mask on, and depriving myself of all of that sensory input, even though it might seem boring on the outside, it lets me really circle through my thoughts, explore my ideas, and then I feel recharged at the end. And so deep breathing, you can do traditional deep breathing or any meditative, contemplative practice before you do anything creative. This is going to be what helps you get ready. The next card is spend time with friends. So this is an indication that you need to have a hobby that is embedded in some sort of group or community. If you are a writer, you're going to join a writer's group, or you're going to talk about writing with your friends. You could also join a writing program or anything like that, anything formal so that way you can meet new people. But you need to talk about your creative medium. It's going to really encourage you, and you're going to get a lot of ideas, a lot of support, and it's just going to be really reassuring for you. So let's look at why you need this hobby. What hole or void is it filling in your life? We're going to use 3 cards from the Wisdom of the Oracle. Why does pile 2 need this hobby? Why does pile 2 need this hobby? Your first card is by the book. So I do think this is a very specific clarification that you need to be writing. And I think reading specifically helps you explore worlds, ideas, helps you to really feel something in your life that you didn't know you need. Reading is a very meditative practice itself, but you're able to explore things that you can't see in TV or movies. There are a lot of budgetary restrictions, and sometimes TV isn't that creative. And so when you're reading, when you are writing, you are using the absolute best creativity possible. And let's say you're not doing fiction or poetry. You could be writing nonfiction. And one of the most amazing things about nonfiction is that writing is the most effective way to get an idea across, to teach somebody, to be very economical with presentation. And so reading and writing it is the perfect way to experience and to create an idea itself. The next card is higher power. There is a muse working through you. The muses, I think, did a lot of different mediums, not just writing, but I do think in particular there is a muse working through you. There is an idea that you're meant to write, to create, and when you pursue this hobby, you are going to feel spiritually fulfilled in a way you've never felt before. You're going to feel really aligned with your purpose. The third card is serendipity. So sometimes I do creative writing as well, and often because I read and write a lot of poetry, I will learn something and I will integrate the most random things into a creative work. For example, I write a lot of science fiction poetry, a lot of poetry on Appalachia and coal mining, and I can really come up with a lot of inventive metaphors and interesting ways to do things. And I think you're going to find that everything you experience in life, everything you have experienced, it is going to be integrated into your creative work. Sometimes in small ways. It could be some random thing you hear about, or it could be a major experience you have. But nothing in your life is going to be a coincidence going forward once you adopt this hobby. You're going to be sent signs and synchronicities, and you're going to feel inspired by your muse to put them into your creative work. So let's pull 2 cards from the Work Your Light for why you need it. Why do you need this hobby? Your first card here is Sisterhood of the Rose, Beauty and Devotion, Priestess, Mystic, and Teacher. So you are going to have that group of friends that you meet and talk with, but I also think you are going to be part of some sort of giving of knowledge, of creativity to future generations. It could be through a formal mentorship. Maybe you teach creative writing, maybe you teach a specific writer, or you help someone write their book, you help them edit it, you review it, but it could also be you inspire people. A lot of readers will read a particular book and then they are inspired to do other books. The writer I'm thinking of right now would be Sarah J. Maas. She started writing these romantasy books, and people were so inspired by the first few books that she wrote that it essentially made the romantasy genre flourish, expand. It's kind of dominating the publishing industry. But the important thing is that whether you inspire people directly, like a specific person, or a whole audience of people, you're going to find that they are your sisterhood, your brotherhood. You're going to feel connected to them in a way that you haven't before. And so even though you're going to create, I also think you're going to teach, either through classes, through how-to books, or maybe an article or a video you post some point later on in life, or maybe even next week, where you talk about your experience, why you wrote something a certain way, and you're just going to be teaching people how to also express themselves. The next card is you're already doing it. Stop overthinking, keep facing your true north. So if you're already a writer, this is a confirmation to keep writing. But if you are new to writing, if you haven't really done it before, you haven't done it a lot, this is an indication that something you're interested in or something you've experienced is going to be the topic. For example, it could be about your career, it could be about your relationship experience. A lot of people will write a fictional story about one of their relationships instead of writing a memoir, although you could do that too. And so understand that whatever you're experiencing or whatever you're reading, that is a reflection of what you should also be creating. What you are spending your time on or have experienced is part of what your muse is directing you towards. That goes back to that serendipity. Your experiences aren't random. They are part of your inspiration. And so I suppose why you need this hobby is that it helps you to fully experience your life in a way that you haven't ever experienced before. You get to feel more complete as a person. So let's see, what are the long-term effects of this hobby? How's it going to change your life? Let's pull 3 cards from the Muse Tarot deck. What can this hobby do for pile 2? What does our Bison pile need to know? The first card is the 9 of Inspiration reversed. This is a sign that even though there is this wonderful group, community, friends, and all those sort of things, writing is going to be an independent endeavor for you. It is going to be something that you really wrestle with privately. You do have the support of your muse, the spiritual support, but it is an independent thing. Your creativity is going to be expressed because it is your personal experiences or ideas. And so while you can bounce off ideas with these other people, with your friends, with your peers, with the people you're mentoring, at the end of the day, what this hobby is doing for you is it is creating a body of work that only you could have created. Even if you are working in a very constrained genre to where there are a lot of rules and it doesn't seem like on the outside it is particularly original, you're going to be making moves that nobody has seen before. I'm thinking of Ursula K. Le Guin. She did a lot of social exploration when it came to science fiction, and that really moved the genre. It really helped people to look at science fiction as this thing of literary value. Obviously, going back to Sarah J. Maas, she essentially pushed forward a genre that was kind of hidden. And so whatever you're going to do with your writing, it is going to change things. Hopefully you're going to see what that change is in your life, but you need to understand that what this hobby is doing for you is you are making a mark on the world through your creative expression. The next card is the 10 of Inspiration reversed. It is going to reduce burdens. So it's possible that writing could eventually become a career for you. It goes from a hobby and a passion to something that actually pays the bills, but more than just providing for you, it may help you deal with any mental problems you're having, any anxieties, anything like that. Maybe it gives you a way to fill a hole in your schedule to where you are being productive, but you are definitely going to find that this hobby of writing is going to make your life just feel a lot easier. The third card is the 3 of Voices. One thing to be aware of when it comes to writing is that a lot of writers tend to be a little bit depressed. And so even though your life is overall easier, creatives tend to be people who ruminate a lot, they think a lot. I remember reading this book, it may have been from Malcolm Gladwell, where he was talking about poets really struggling with their mental health, and when they wrote poems, sometimes it would trigger mental health episodes in other poets. And so understand that even though overall writing is good for you, there are going to be periods where you're going to be just racked with emotions, you're going to be a little bit overwhelmed, and so you may need to have a secondary hobby or something you do for relief. A lot of writers, for example, may write something on the side that has nothing to do with their main writing task. Maybe they read books that have nothing to do with the genre they're writing in. I've heard singers, for example, will often paint. Presidents, by the way, it's a thing now where they end up painting. And so doing something creative in a different format or in a different genre will help relieve a lot of that pressure that you experience, because creative people, their mind wanders. And in that mind wandering, sometimes it dwells in dark places because they're trying to come up with plots or ideas or drama for whatever creative thing they're writing about. So let's end with 2 more cards. We're going to pull 2 cards from the Sacred Self-Care Oracle. What is it that is being done for you with this hobby? What are you going to be experiencing long term? The first card is clean your space. So with writing, you are going to develop a particular skill. You're probably going to learn how to write every day, or if not every day, frequently. And this is going to create a discipline that is going to cause you to be very, very, very clutter-free. This could be your work environment, but it could also lead to skills where once you create a comfortable, cozy, clean writing environment, you're going to start cleaning the rest of your home and you're going to feel very secure in your space. And that's probably because most writers tend to work at home, even if they work in cafes or libraries some of the time, they still tend to work many hours at home. And because of that, you're going to start looking around and you're going to take better care of it, or you're going to decorate it better, and you're going to feel really at ease in your space. The next card, your last card today, is make a vision board. Through writing, you're going to have a vision for your future. And I think this is partly because you are going to be very methodical in your approach. You're either going to be very detailed in your planning and plotting process, or if you are more of an impulse writer, you're going to think about whatever you create a lot beforehand. A lot of people who have ADHD or who tend to do things at last minute, they do tend to think about it a lot before they actually do things last minute. And so through this planning or thinking on your creativity, you are going to get very comfortable with the idea of envisioning a future for yourself. And through that envisioning, you are going to start asking yourself, well, where do I want to live? Who do I want to live with? What do I want my next year to look like? And through that, you're going to slowly adjust your life to fit that vision. And this is part of the reason why you're going to feel better. You're going to feel like there are less obligations, less stressful things in your life, because over the long term, you are learning how to let go of what doesn't work and pursue what does make sense for you. So pile 2, my Bison pile, I hope you resonated with this reading. Be sure to like and subscribe if you would like more videos like this. You can also book a private reading with me. The link is in the comments, but otherwise, pile 2, I am so excited for you to pursue your writing project. Be sure to let me know in the comments if there's anything you're really interested in writing about or something you love to read about, because I would love to know. Otherwise, pile 2, I am wishing you many blessings in your creative future. Hello, pile 3, my horse pile. Welcome to your reading. Let's go ahead and see what hobby your soul is longing for. We're going to start with 3 cards from the Muse Tarot deck to get a general idea of what this hobby could be. Universe, what is pile 3's hobby? What is their soul longing to do? The first card is the 5 of Voices reversed. This is a card of rejecting competition or any win-lose paradigm. The next card is the 4 of Emotions. This is about something being offered that you're not quite ready for. So this hobby is something that you had an opportunity to do in the past, or you were interested in, but you rejected it or didn't pursue that interest. And then the third card is the Muse of Voices. This is about speaking, communication, being inspired to do something with your voice. So this is writing, this is speaking, this is talking with other people, but your words is your hobby in some form. So let's actually pull 2 cards from the Sacred Self-Care Oracle to see if we can get any more ideas about what this could be. See if we can narrow down even more. Universe, what is pile 3's hobby? Your first card, pile 3, is aromatherapy, something dealing with scent or presence. The second card is sing. So specifically what you're meant to do is musical. You are meant to use your words, or if you're not using words, if you're creating music that is wordless, the music has some sort of story or narrative that is implied in the music itself. So I really do encourage you to pursue this hobby of music, specifically singing, but it could be wordless as long as it has some sort of narrative. And if you are afraid to put yourself out there because this was something you rejected in the past, this hobby doesn't have to be something you perform in front of people. One thing I have thought about doing myself is learning to sing. I never learned to sing as a child. I never sang even in private at home. It just was something that never occurred to me to do. The only time I would ever sing is during the national anthem or the few songs that I was introduced to at school where the entire class had to sing together. And so one of the reasons why I want to get into singing, for example, is to improve my speaking voice. It's not to become a singer. So this hobby in particular, this aromatherapy, it is about presence. Something about singing is going to improve your presence throughout the rest of your life. Now you can channel this hobby to be a passion that you make money from, but specifically what this hobby is designed to do is to make you feel more comfortable, improve your voice, like in my case, or it could just be something that you do to pass the time, to really enjoy the music, or to express yourself creatively. You could learn how to play an instrument, you could learn how to sing, you could use AI tools to create music, although definitely don't pass off that AI music as creative, but you can use it to help you learn how to sing, all those sort of things. But definitely use your creativity and your voice, your words to create beautiful music and be really in that presence. Don't just sing to sing. Sing to either improve your presence or to be in the presence of that song. So that's a pretty specific hobby that you should be pursuing. The next thing I want to look at is, why do you need this? Specifically, what is it doing for you right now? We're going to pull 3 cards from the Work Your Light Oracle deck. Universe, why does pile 3 need to pursue music as a hobby? I actually feel I should shuffle one more time. The first card is the Age of Light. You've been training for this for lifetimes. So you missed out by not singing more throughout your lifetime. Even if you enjoy singing now, even if you sing for fun, you need to take it one step more, because there's something about singing or music itself which serves some sort of higher purpose that your past lives have been trying to do. You may learn how to perform historical songs, you may learn or explore different songs and then explore emotions that you don't feel in this life but perhaps you felt in the last life. For example, here in Appalachia, we have this tradition of ballads and folk songs, and even though I don't normally like listening to anything that isn't pop music, sometimes I'll go listen to an old ballad and I feel really moved by it. I feel really connected by it. And you may find that there are different genres of music or old songs that you really resonate with. So I do recommend in your singing exploration or music exploration that you actually pursue historical songs. It doesn't have to be really old. It could just be older than the current age. It could be something from a few decades ago or hundreds of years ago, but something about historical music is something you can explore. It's not the only thing you have to explore, but you're going to get a lot of benefit from it. The next card is Unbound, Releasing Soul Patterns, Contracts, and Past Lives. Singing is very experiential, and a lot of people sing as stress relief. Perhaps you do that too, but improving your singing ability or your music ability, it is going to release some of the pressure from your past lives that you don't know are still trapped, and you're going to feel more relaxed. There's something you need to let go of that you can only let go of when you explore those historical music. So definitely consider what sort of historical periods or people that you're really attracted to. It could be your ancestry, it could be just a random country you're interested in or random people. It could be a particular type of instrument. Just allow your interest to guide you in the sort of music you should be exploring. The third card is take a break. A life's work, not a season. Get off the treadmill. This goes back to the first card we pulled, the Five of Voices, which is about rejecting that win-lose paradigm. This hobby, at least in the beginning, some of you may decide to publish your songs to the public, but the point is a very private experience, and the particular experience you're meant to have is historical, it is explorative, and it lets you take a break from the present reality. It lets you live in a different experience. So I think when you are exploring that music and you're going to listen to a lot first, or if you can't listen to the music, you're going to read the songs or play with the instruments, and it's going to take you out of this world and almost transport you or time travel you to that period in the past. I'm thinking now of the people who are neo-pagans, especially those who are Norse pagans. A lot of them take up the lyre because it's a very accessible instrument. You can get it off of Amazon for $50, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. It's very easy to play, and when they learn to play that music, they're able to play very spiritual music. They're able to really feel as if they are back in the time when Norse paganism was actually really common. So that is part of what this historical exploration of music is going to do, is you are going to time travel spiritually, and that's going to be a really nice experience for you. Let's pull 2 cards from the Wisdom of the Oracle for anything else you need to know about why you need this hobby. I feel like your hobby is very specific. Pile 2 was about writing. Yours is about singing, specifically singing historical period music. Very unusual, but I like it. It's possible this hobby is also, there's a deadline to it. You may continue singing the rest of your life, but this particular historical exploration, it may just be a project you do for a few months, and that's perfectly fine, but this is definitely a hobby your soul wants you to pursue. The first card here is Loyal Heart. I think romantic music is called for. I think it will bring up memories of a past life relationship. Maybe when you are experiencing those feelings, you are going to feel a kinship towards that person, and perhaps you're going to realize who that person is in this life. Maybe they are a romantic partner in this life, but you've definitely met them again. You've definitely experienced this person again, perhaps in romance, perhaps in friendship, perhaps in family. But I think exploring that historical music, especially love music, if it is available to you, will help you to find that person. And I mostly say romance because it's very emotional, but I think any really emotional song would work. One song that I know a lot of Norse pagans learn to play, if they learn to play the lyre, is about this, I think, Viking child. I can't remember the song exactly, but it is kind of this mournful song. It's very emotional, and so it's really interesting to play and hear. And so there's definitely, through the emotional experience of that historical period piece, through that time travel, that spiritual time travel, you are going to be able to reconnect or realize who someone in this lifetime is, a soul contract, a soul tie, a soulmate that you have met again. The next card is Time for a Nap. So this is a confirmation, actually, that even if you do continue singing for the rest of your life, this hobby is a project. You need to approach it as a project. It has, if not a deadline, an endpoint. So you're going to explore that historical music. You're going to practice it. You're going to sing it. You're going to have that experience of meeting your soul contract, your soul type person. And then you may not have that experience again. It may just be this one relationship. But it's definitely something I want you to do. Even if you think you are a terrible singer, you are tone deaf, you hate music, you need to pursue this. Your soul is really calling you towards this particular hobby, this particular project. Give yourself 3 to 6 months at least, and really just push yourself. It's okay for terrible. I hope you're wonderful, but if you are terrible, that's fine. It is an experience you're meant to have. It is a spiritual time travel you are meant to experience. So now what I want to do is figure out what are the long-term benefits or negatives of this hobby, because sometimes hobbies are good and sometimes hobbies have a cost. Now, your hobby has nothing to do with sports or anything like that, but when people pursue a sport, sometimes they get injured. So knowing the pros and cons of this hobby and what it's going to do for you is going to be really helpful. So let's pull 3 cards from the Muse Tarot to figure out the long-term effects. What are the outcomes here? I'm just really loving this reading. It's probably the most fun and specific reading I've done in a long time. So the first card is the Ace of Voices reversed. You are probably going to put so much effort into singing or learning to play music that your voice may get a little bit hoarse because you aren't used to using it that way. Or if you are making music or learning an instrument, maybe your fingers hurt from plucking, or you get really tired of just music in general because you're putting so much effort into it. That's okay. It's just temporary. You'll get better in the long run. You'll recover. The next card is the 10 of Emotions reversed. So this is an indication that something in your past life was unresolved. This goes back to the Unbound card, releasing soul patterns. There was some sort of negative event, or even if your past life was very happy, when you were separated from that person through death, even if it was a long natural life and you had a natural death, it really affected you on a powerfully emotional level. And when you review this music, when you do that historical survey and you sing that music or you reproduce that music through an instrument, you are going to feel some of the sadness you felt. You are going to feel some of the loss, and that's something you need to be prepared for. You need to understand you are going to be deep in the feelings. I've heard some people say that it's okay to listen to sad music sometimes, but sometimes people listen to sad music so much that they become depressed. So if you are feeling that way, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it is okay to take a little bit longer to finish this project, to spend a little bit less time each day, just so you can emotionally process everything that is happening to you. The next card is the 3 of Voices. So your relationship with this person in your past life is likely to be very different from your relationship to this person in this life. You are going to remember that feeling. You are going to feel connected to that person. But at the same time, once you have that memory manifested, once you have those feelings, you are going to realize that you can't have that same relationship from the past life in this one. And it is a little bit painful, but at the same time, it's going to be clarifying. We don't remember all of our past lives. We don't always understand that some of the people in this life we have connections to in past lives, so we don't understand why that person is in this life. So imagine, for example, maybe someone who picked this pile, they had a happy past life, but this person was taken from them in old age, and it was so affecting that they realized when they reincarnated that they would need to be with this person for the rest of their lives. So instead of being a romantic partner in this life, perhaps they're a sibling, because generally speaking, you are with your siblings the longest of any relationship you have. Your parents go too soon, your children are born too late, your friends, you don't get to know them for the entirety of your life, but your siblings, for example, you tend to know them for almost your entire lifespan. So something about your past life caused this relationship to manifest in a specific way, and you are going to learn that. You're going to learn why this person is in your life. So let's end with 2 cards from the Sacred Self-Care Oracle for anything else you need to know about this hobby. What else do you need to know about the long-term effects of this hobby or this project? The first card is positive affirmations. So there is a lot of negativity in the emotions at first, and I think you're going to really feel a lot of catharsis through that. But at the same time, at the end, you are going to have this important spiritual lesson, and it's going to cause you to move forward in your life with a brighter perspective. You're going to look at that soul tie relationship, and you're going to say, I understand why this person is in my life. And then you're going to look at the other people in your life, and even if you don't know their past life connection to you, you're going to recognize that the people who come into your life, some, maybe not all, there's a reason for them to be there. So you're going to feel this deep connection that you never realized you had before. The last card today is Ground Yourself. So this project is going to teach you how to be very present in this relationship. And I'm sure you've noticed that when you listen to music, it is one of the few hobbies that you can do again and again and again. You can listen to the same song dozens of times. Right now, I am listening to the song Drag Path by 21 Pilots, I believe. It is this viral song that has finally been released today, and I remember wanting to listen to it so much. It is on repeat. I think I've listened to it 10 times. And when it comes to music, something about this whole experience is going to make you very present. You're going to feel very alive from that music. You're going to feel very connected, but you're also going to feel very connected to the earth. And you're going to feel the life, death, birth cycle. It's kind of hard to verbalize. It's more of a feeling. And that's what music does. It helps you to feel, but you're not just feeling your own feelings. You're not just feeling connected to another person. You're also going to feel connected to the earth. You're going to feel this spiritual wholeness that you didn't realize you had with the world itself. From dust we came, to dust we will return, basically. And that's happening here. You are physically connected to this earth in the life and rebirth cycle that you didn't even realize. And that's going to be really interesting for you. Just a really interesting experience, and I'm so excited for you to have that. So, pile 3, I hope you resonated with this reading. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe for more. You can also book a private reading with me. A link is in the comments if you would like to know anything else about your life. Otherwise, pile 3, let me know in the comments what particular genre of music or historical period you think you are being drawn to. I would really love to know. I think it's just so interesting. I love your reading. It is probably my favorite one I've done, if not ever, at least in a few years. So I'm just really blessed by you today, and I am sending you many blessings as well.